11 bills have been enacted, 3 withdrawn, and at least 1 has been returned. 56 recommendations have been discussed, and over 60 ministerial statements have been considered. That is just a summary of what the 10th Parliament has done in their second session. But as they prepare for the third session, as they get into it, the citizens have to evaluate their performance. The citizens have to grade these members of Parliament that they elected to go and represent their views. That is what we are discussing in this episode of Face the Citizens, the performance of the 10th Parliament of Uganda in the second session of their term of office. I am Seboa Samuel Bunya, and this is Face the Citizens. This is Face the Citizens, and I am Seboa Samuel Bunya. Today we are discussing the performance of the 10th Parliament of Uganda in its second session, and I am joined by 3 distinguished guests. I'm going to start on my right to introduce these guests, and to my right is from the NRM party, the government party, Honorable Chris Baryomunsi. Welcome to Face the Citizens.
Thank you very much and welcome.
My nearest person on my left is Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda. Those of you who support FDC, you must know him. Welcome to Face the Citizens. And on the extreme left, we have Mr. Gerald Werike from the African Leadership Institute. Welcome to Face the Citizens. All right, we're going to dive right into today's discussion. The 10th Parliament. We have a representation of the citizenry here. And I just want to ask maybe the gentleman in a checkered shirt, white, black, and red. To you, how would you say, has this 10th Parliament really served your interests in this second session, 2017-2018 of their sitting?
I'm Marecha Norman, a third-year student of Automotive and Power Engineering, Chambago University. If you're to draw the budget, you should actually favor and work for the lower person to the grassroots in the village. And if you look at the budget of 2018-2019, this financial year, which is starting in July, it actually shows that because we know that about 60%, actually it's over 60% of Uganda's population is engaged in agriculture. But then if you look at the budget, agriculture is given 3.8% out of the 32.7 trillion. That is around, I don't know even. But then this does not serve a poor Ugandan, because after all, it's where he's going to get the fees from for the children. It's where he's going to get the food even to eat. It's where he's going to get everything. But then you look at something like interest payments. It's taking the second position on the budget. Who are they paying?
All right, thank you very much. Now, I have 2 honorable MPs here, and I'll go straight to Honorable Baryomunsi. Just how involved was the citizenry in the budget process? Because I think that's what he's asking. He feels like they are not involved in some of these things.
Uganda has one of the most involving budgetary processes where we run a decentralized system of governance, and the budget cycle caters for participation of citizens, especially at the local government level. And therefore, what eventually makes of the national budget emanates from local governments and the local population. It is true that the majority of Ugandans are engaged in agriculture, but also when you look at the support to agriculture, you shouldn't only limit it to what allocation goes to the ministry. When you look at our budget, we do what we call flagship budgeting, where for a number of years we have prioritized a number of sectors, especially infrastructure, the roads, electricity, now health and education and the others. So the question is, if we do roads, isn't there a relationship between the promotion of agriculture and improvement of the roads? If we extend electricity at the countryside so that the communities have electricity, doesn't that improve agro-processing and value addition, which is a plus for agriculture? So I wouldn't want the citizens to look at agriculture in terms of how much has been allocated, but also to look at the other sectors as contributing to the growth of agriculture.
All right, but Honorable Baryomunsi, the NRM Chief Whip is on record saying that ministers and cabinet don't bring enough discussion to the floor of Parliament. As a cabinet minister and even as an MP, what's your take on this comment?
Well, first of all, when you are a minister, a front bencher in Parliament, the public should not expect you to debate the way the backbench members of Parliament. Some of us have been criticized. Why were you so eloquent when you were backbencher and now you don't talk a lot? I don't talk a lot because I am in the executive and I answer to the issues which come from the backbench. So, for instance, ministers, you don't expect them to raise questions to the Prime Minister or to raise questions to government because we are the government itself within the Parliament. And therefore, ministers mainly come in to answer questions and issues which arise in their respective sectors.
All right, now Honorable Ibrahim, I want to bring you into this debate in the sense that what comment do you have to say about what he's saying? Because he's simply saying that as ministers, they are not there to bring discussion, but rather to answer. Do you think this has hindered the discussions that go on in Parliament?
Yes, but before if you allow me a second.
Just a second.
You see, if you want to understand how difficult it is, because I have said this many times, that this particular government is almost now running to money lenders. Because you spoke about the interest payment. The reason we are paying a lot of interest is that the government is borrowing from commercial banks. So now the governments borrow from World Bank, from IMF, from other governments. But this particular government is borrowing almost from every bank. This year, the total budget is going to be about 32 trillion shillings. As the opposition, we did the calculations, and we discovered that nearly the whole budget will be servicing debt, local, from commercial banks. And because you see, the wage bill in Uganda, the wage bill alone is about 4 trillion shillings. And then a bulk of the rest of the money is one that will be buying fuel, buying newspapers, trips, etc. At the end of the day, you will be told that the government has presented a budget of 32 trillion shilling, yet from our own calculations, they have just about 4 trillion shilling. So even when you begin making demands, I think the first thing anyone sensible will do when you get into government is to restructure government. And then make government work the same way private companies work. And it's possible. If you go to Dubai, every year they have a function of government excellences. Companies compete. Public companies must compete with private companies. But in Uganda, I remember when I left university in 1998, part of the reason we wanted to work for government is because there are no sanctions, no supervision. You can go and remove your jacket, dress your chair, and go and return on Friday. Even the parliament itself you speak about, there are no sanctions. That's why everybody is in the parliament. Even the people who can construct one sentence in English, they went to a house where the main the mode of communication is English, and they will never speak because it's not easy. So, because there are no sanctions, the citizens who should put the government on pressure are also raising their hands, waiting to be given. Now the president in Rukunjiri, another district, is waiting. They had him also telling, wait, I am coming.
Okay, Honorable.
So therefore, the question you ask is that first the ministers, as Koi said, the ministers can't come and debate their own policies they present to Parliament. But also, even when they are presenting those policies, some of the ministers are as worse as the MPs. Of course, the president picks everybody. I don't think Naduru will come and read 2 lines from a policy statement. because you see, we've lowered the quality. Anyone can get into Parliament, anyone can walk into cabinet. Just now imagine Naduri presenting a policy on agriculture.
All right, Honorable Ibrahim. I want to bring in Mr. Gerald Barike. Mr. Gerald Barike, in your opinion, do you feel the size of the Parliament is actually even hindering it executing its job?
When you ask me about the size, I could like to say that it is absurd, because I don't believe that if you bring crowds, that is when people are properly represented. We have looked at previous parliaments where the numbers were few, maybe around the 7th parliament, 6th parliament, and debate was really vibrant, and even MPs wouldn't mind going against the bosses and so forth. But now, for us, what is happening currently...
But then, Mr. Werike, the president has said the size of the parliament, its composition, it's a diverse composition. I mean, it has 120 women representatives as well as indigenous people. He's citing this as a sign of vibrant democracy.
I don't believe so, because one, when we are talking about democracy, we shouldn't only talk about the quantity of democracy. We should talk about the quality of democracy. You know, some time back, I devised the term called kleptomobocracy, sometimes to describe, yeah, because let me explain.
In a few words,
yes,
just break it down in a few words.
Kleptocracy is the government of the thieves, for the thieves, and by the thieves. Mobocracy is the government of rule of the mob. And then democracy is the involvement of the people. Now, if you combine the three, you can bring kleptomobocracy, which is not really quality democracy, but a resemblance of democracy, and poor quality democracy. Now, I'm not saying our parliament is like that, but it is in the interest of all of us as citizens to see a vibrant, independent, and people-centered parliament.
So, Mr. Werike, how responsive has this parliament been in responding to the demands of the citizenry, like these vibrant citizens who are here?
In quantitative terms, if I look at the last year, parliament has achieved, because there are so many reports that were tabled, resolutions made, but whether they followed up on those resolutions is another matter, because it doesn't make sense to make resolutions, recommendations, and nothing happens, like the case of the central bank. Okay, so in terms of oversight, to a certain extent they achieved, but the resolutions are not implemented.
All right, there's a gentleman right here in a green and yellow shirt who seems to have a burning issue among very many people up there. Please.
We know that the most significant purposes of the parliament is to pass laws that provide good governance. But when you look at the laws that have been passed by the parliament in the past financial year, you even wonder where we are going. In reference to the recent excise duty amendment that was passed, introduction of the 200 shillings daily social media
even
tax,
the mobile money
even
tax?
the mobile money, the 1%, because the president heard that many people were speaking about him via social media. That's why he's introducing them. Really, you even wonder.
Honorable Barry Omunsi, it seems they are attacking the party you represent in the
Well,
parliament.
well,
Is parliament powerless?
Not really. There are different forms of democracy. And
He mentioned a few.
Yes. And it's up to Ugandans to decide. For instance, in some countries like South Africa, like Rwanda, they do what we call representational democracy, where you do party lists, where the population votes parties, and then depending on what percentage a party has got, the party leadership produces the MPs. Is that what you want? I think ours is that the right remains with the people to vote the person they want. So if we have voted fun MPs, then the question goes back to you, the voters. So the parliamentarians are a reflection of the character of Ugandans. Because we come from the population.
All right,
so,
right.
But I don't say that.
Honorable Barry Omunsi,
yes.
we are going to come back after this short break. We will start with you right from there. Absolutely. So stay tuned for more Face the Citizens. We're going for a short break. Welcome back, and you're still tuned in to Face the Citizens. Before we went to the break, Honorable Barry Omunsi was giving us a point. So, Honorable, we're going to get off right from you.
the point I was making is that the kind of democracy which we have in Uganda is that it is the citizens who elect the person they want. If they want a drunkard, it's up to them to elect a drunkard. If you want an illiterate MP, it is the citizens who vote. The NRM party doesn't decide for the people who goes into parliament. But if we want to change the mode of democracy, we are still free through constitutional amendments to do that. And secondly, the issue of borrowing. There is no country which does not borrow. I think the key question should be the money which is borrowed. Is it put to the right use? We have been borrowing money for roads. Are there roads in Uganda? We have been borrowing money for electricity. Has electricity been extended to different parts of the country? That's the issue. And there is a variable which we use, which is debt to GDP ratio. At the present, we are at 38%. And the threshold which makes debt unsustainable is 50%. So you need from an intellectual point of view to analyze that. Don't just say, why are you borrowing? Yes, we are borrowing, and we are within the limits of borrowing.
All right,
and the money
all right.
which we borrow, because you see, you
you
complain about borrowing. Then again, when we raise the money domestically through taxes, again you complain. Because the government has to raise the money to provide this services.
Well, it seems like it's unsustainable borrowing.
No, why?
No, okay.
Yes, yes.
The report you did yourself, we are supposed to have done 9,000 kilometers of tarmac road. You did 4,000. Money for 5,000 kilometers of tarmac was stolen. You are on the report.
Well, Honorable Bariomunsi, we have heard from you. We have heard from Honorable Ibrahim. Maybe that's corruption. But you raised a very good point about it's the citizens, meaning they have thrown it to you. So there are a few people here who have something to say. There's a gentleman up there who had raised his hand. Please, please give us your contribution. And remember, like he has said, what you see right now in Parliament is because of you. So please do go forward.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Muhiro John Bosco from Fort Portal. I'm wondering whether we really have a functioning government, a functioning parliament currently. Because when you really go to find out, you find that this parliament is very voluminous, costing Ugandans and passing bills which aren't in favor of the Ugandans. You find that...
which of these bills?
For example,
I mentioned.
For example, this social media tax. When you go to Article 102B, it is on record, it is researched, and reports are made. But what was passed is far different from that.
I think you two see he's very bitter. There's a gentleman right here at the front in a striped shirt. Please, there's this gentleman right here. He also has he has a comment.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm known, my name is Abubakar bin Siraj. I come from Bale. My concern about members of parliament, I have something like two issues. One about Tojikwatako issue.
That was a very contentious issue.
In fact, these members of parliament, when the Tojikwatako issue came, some of us, we did not even see them. They did not even come to their constituencies.
Which constituency?
That is Bungo South constituency in Mbale. That is Honorable Elishe Kafabusa.
Well, dear citizen, thank you for your contribution,
Yes.
but please remember to keep your contributions short. We
Yes.
have to get other people to
Yes,
talk.
so
Please
these members
summarize
of,
that.
The members of parliament, they are, when they go through, when they are swearing in, if he's a Muslim, he holds a Quran, a Christian holds a Bible, and he says, at last he says, for God and my country. Instead of saying for God and my country, they are there to hold the Constitution, the Bible and the Quran for God and their stomach. Really, Ugandans, where are we going?
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. There's a lady right over there in a green cap. She had put her hand up to give a contribution.
Thank you. I'm Drusilla Grace, Masscom student, IUEA. My question goes to, it's basically about the social media taxing. Do you guys realize it's quite different to compare to other countries? I believe the domestic tax is supposed to be taken from other things, and then the MPs, the number of MPs is it's a lot. I mean, the government can decide to reduce on the number of MPs and their allowances, because there are MPs who are doing nothing in parliament. They don't even discuss.
All right. Oh, okay. Thank you. There's a gentleman in just behind you, the one in yes. That's the last question for now. But we are coming back. We will have more questions asked from the audience here.
Thank you so much. Before I bring my question, I would like to comment on what Honorable Chris said, that we, the citizenry, we elect the leaders. Well, we may go to the polling stations, but then the one who counts the votes determines who goes through. That is what happens in some areas, actually. They determine who goes through. That we go and vote, but the one who goes to office is determined by the people who count the votes. And in fact, sometimes we vote and we know, well, we have voted, but most likely the other one may be declared the winner. Now, looking at the other issue is the issue on taxes. For instance, for God's sake, mobile money has been helping a lot of people in the villages. Those people can't access the bank. They are deep down there in the villages, and so what has been helping them is mobile money. That even when you come in agriculture, they have been trying to do their transactions on mobile money. And so you put a tax on that, you're trying to send these people to banks. Some of these banks are not easily accessible due to the distance from the local person up to where the bank is. And the thing which was helping the citizenry, the mobile money, you put a tax there. My friend here has commented on social media. Social media, where people are trying to exchange ideas, and what the other person looked at is that they are doing Lugambo there. For God's sake, no. At least we were putting our ideas through such a thing. I would like to conclude on the other issue, the issue of electricity. In my home village, I see those poles, rural electrification. They are just passing over our houses. Most people, they can't even afford a year. You buy a Solido, you buy what? They put things, you ask yourself, is this rural electrification?
All right, okay.
And lastly, Mr. Moderator.
No. Thank you very much. Let's give the panel a bit of a chance to contribute. Mr. Werike, you have been here listening to the citizens.
Yeah.
In your opinion, just
Yes.
from what you're listening to, from just the sample space, do you think that these MPs, the sample spaces of these two, are actually deserve to be called MPs of these people here?
Yeah, maybe before I answer the citizens, let me respond to what the minister said. The minister said society elects the leaders it deserves, that it is the people who elect these people. But I want to say that it's the role of this government to ensure that the democracy that they provide the citizens is of quality. If you subdivide the country into small pieces, you are likely to bring people who have no quality at all to participate in the national parliament. Two, the issue of social media tax seems to be raising a lot of eyebrows. I want to tell you that I was looking at the statistics of internet coverage in Uganda. I realized that about 36% of Ugandans can now access some internet, but most of these are concentrated in the urban areas. So I think government as a priority wanted to talked about promoting internet penetration even in the rural areas. So districts can use and so many people. But currently, if you slap a tax, it means you are discouraging and therefore you are contradicting.
All right, Mr. Wereke, thank you. And now, Honorable Barry Omonsi, it seems you are also representing the government here, and that the issue of the tax, that social media tax, just the social media tax, can you really address it? What are you really after as a government?
You see, this citizenry is what I would call a schizophrenic citizenry with a split mind. You attack us that we are borrowing. Then when we say let's increase domestic revenue, again you complain. So taxation is an old age profession, if I can call it. Even in the times of the Bible, people were paying taxes. What you are calling social media taxes and mobile money, government is trying to raise money through different local means. I think the major question should be, once the government raises this money should be invested in social services for the welfare of Ugandans.
Well, Honorable Barry,
the social media.
No, we'll continue from there.
The social media tax which we are talking about. What we are taxing is what we call OTT, over the top services. I don't have time to explain that. But that means that when you send a WhatsApp message that you will be taxed. Probably if the IT experts will explain.
All right, Honorable Barry Omunsi,
the-
we will begin with you explaining that point of taxes.
Yes.
But we're going for a short break. Stay tuned for
Okay.
more Face the Citizens.
Okay.
Welcome back to Face the Citizens. My name is Seboa Samuel Bunya, and today we are discussing the performance of the 10th Parliament of Uganda in its second session. Before we went for the break, Honorable Barry Omunsi was responding to something concerning taxes. So, Honorable Barry Omunsi, just take it off right from there, but keep it short, and so that the audience and so that the people at home can understand what you're really after with all these taxes that you're introducing.
Yes, it is the duty of government to mobilize resources through various ways. And one way of mobilizing resources is expanding the tax base so that we tax the services, raise money to service government and provide services for the population. Of course, the other strand is to borrow money if you can't raise enough from the local revenue to finance the services. So the key question which the citizens should be asking us, that money you are raising through taxes, through borrowing, are you investing it properly to improve the welfare and the quality of the population that we are serving?
All right, now
that should be the key
I would want
question.
to ask Honorable Ibrahim, basing on what he has said, and also basing on what some of the citizenry who are here have said, it's like most of your fellow members of parliament have just betrayed the trust of the people. They're going to parliament and giving different opinions compared to what the people are saying. What do you have to say about that?
First of all, Chris is asking questions for which he already has answers.
Which one is-
Because when you complain that citizens should only be speaking about how you use the money, you know how you use it. I've told you in the budget, in the last so many years, I'll give you an example, very painful one. The president has a budget of 97 billion shilling for donation. The Creases made a proposal to Parliament to capitalize Uganda Development Bank with just 50 billion shilling. So the Uganda Development Bank that is supposed to lend money at a lower rate to industrialists, government is going to give it 50 billion shilling capitalization, and then the president has 97 billion shilling for donation. He can go to Rukunji,
And what was the counter proposal
even give. We've made them, we've appeared, but do you listen?
Where?
Where?
We don't see
He can
them.
go to Rukunjiri and even give to non-existing circles. The other day he was carrying man on his head to Soga that he's going to develop the youth.
All right.
So the point is, there is no government that will not tax. In fact, for me, I wouldn't mind if government is taxing and using the money properly, but they don't. They're just interested in stealing and amassing wealth. They worship wealth, these fellows. They worship wealth. They want to see a lot of money there. Even what they can't use. So therefore, to now begin asking the citizen that you don't complain on how we use. We know how we use, even you know how we use it. And then the issue of the MPs not presenting the views. I remember one time a Kenyan professor was speaking about Ugandan parliament. He said these MPs in Uganda, if Mr. Museveni asked them to dissolve parliament, they would vote yes. You saw what the councillors did, the ones who were working with Lukwago. They dissolved the KCC and went home. They were never councillors for nearly 2 years. They thought, but by chasing Lukwago, for them they will remain. Eventually, they also became jobless. This is what many of the MPs are. So first of all, the quality of MPs. Some of them don't even have capacity to process views they have collected to come and present them to Parliament. In fact, let me tell you, it is very painful for some of us who sit in that Parliament. There was a time one MP stood up and said, we had a hailstorm in my constituency, 10 cows died, 20 chicken. And I said, are we really in a village council or in parliament?
Well, Honorable Ibrahim, now
But these are the MPs. I don't want to blame the citizen. There is someone who sponsors those weak people to come, and then he goes around telling the population, you send the weaker ones. They are the ones who are the best.
All right. Well, Honorable Ibrahim, I want to ask, mainly to Mr. Werike, does the parliament have its priorities right? Basing off the submissions of Honorable Bariomunsi, the responses of Honorable Ibrahim, and their initial reactions.
Let me again respond to the minister. He talked about the government having taxes as a main source of revenue, which is true. He also spoke about expanding the tax base, which is true. But if you go and tax the same item several times, it's not known as expanding the tax base. Expanding the tax base means you are investing more in production and productive areas in order for the economy to perform well. And when the economy performs well, you are able to tax different things and raise revenue. But if you tax, you'll end up taxing stones. That's a fact. And then, secondly, is government, as parliament, getting its priorities right? I think they appear to see that people are in need of certain things, but they don't have the teeth to bite. Someone has claimed the power of parliament, and the parliament is not standing on its own. Even this issue of the budget, we can defend, we can say everything is doing well, but the indicators even inside government are saying things are not right. We need to go to the drawing board. Is decentralization working? If we put there 10% and districts are only employing 50% of the people, the rest are empty. Are they functioning? Do we need that? We need to look at agriculture. Last year, 1/3 of the country was in hunger. We were running with rice. You remember even rice in Mbarara and so forth, and people complained. So I think then we make so many recommendations and we say, okay, government should promote exports. Government should use the loans for the purpose intended. Exactly. But are we following up to see what is going on? Like, do we usually call these ministers after some time and say, in your sector, what did you do? I've seen challenges this quarter where the speaker has complained about quorum, where he wants line ministers to respond to issues, but out of 70 plus ministers, none is in the house. So I think we need to give value to the people of Uganda. And we know that if Uganda dies, it will die with all of us. I'm not supporting the opposition, not supporting NRM, but that is a fact.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Werike. Now in the audience, there's a civic educator, Mr. David Pulkol. I want to just hear your thoughts on whether or not Parliament has made the most of its tools, of its power to advance prosperity throughout the Pearl of Africa.
We give Parliament a lot of power. Power can censor ministers. If they come and mislead the House, and it is not true, or if their sector is not performing, they just have to get signatures and censor that minister not to appear in Parliament until something has been fixed. So are they using that tool? Parliament can impeach a president. If the president is not performing, if he's found gaping. There was a time when the president took like 2 years without even appointing, or 3 years without even appointing a chief justice. There's a time when he even spent time without appointing a substantive IGG. And a case was dismissed of corrupt ministers, vice president and so forth. The case was dismissed on grounds that there was no substantive IGG. Now, whose job was it? Then when you have now, the case has been dismissed, then you appoint this one, it's Gonja only or something like that. So, now, were you waiting for that corruption case to be dismissed? So then what did Parliament do? So Parliament can even recommend interdiction of a head of a department. If that head of department is not functioning, you could be IGP, you could be Commander of Defense Forces, you can be anything, a commissioner, a director. So Parliament is not using all the tools that has been given under the Constitution. Parliament can even say, we are not passing this budget, Mr. President. We are not passing this one of yours of dishing out to people unless you put money to health or something like that, okay? Unless you put priorities right. But are they doing that? No. So there are a wide array of tools that Parliament is not using. Yes, of course, they move motions, they make resolutions, and then it is not binding. So their ministers, you have your own rules, which says if an MP or a minister, including minister, if you absentee yourself for how many consecutive sittings? 11 now. 15. Or 15. So without appearing 15, in the House, yep. Your seat is declared vacant and something else happens, okay? But do you see them doing that? Why? Why is Parliament becoming timid to use its powers?
All right,
now, if you don't use these powers when you have the power, when will you use it?
All right,
when you're out of Parliament?
All right, Mr. Plugol, thank you very much. Now, I want to ask the audience right here with us, please keep it short, but what do you expect? What are your expectations? Just an answer to that. What your expectations are of these honorable members of Parliament in this third session that they are getting into. I just need about 3 of them, 3 or 4. There's a gentleman right down here in a white shirt.
Thank you so much. Before I want to pick it from where David left it, it's good you one time watch Parliament when they are debating like on maternal health. You will see empty chairs there and a few of them sitting in front. But when they are discussing how much they're going to get, mostly on cars, then others stand outside. They watch on screens. I think Honorable Chris and Semuju, we have issues that this has no any more opposition.
Remember, expectations. We want to know your expectations as a citizen of Uganda.
We expect all issues to be equal as long as they are coming for legislation. We expect MPs to be in Parliament when they are needed to be. But also, we expect to see some change. Mostly us who vote, it comes back to us, and I agree with Honorable Chris, that it's we, these MPs are our products, they come from us. No one should dodge that. I want to congratulate Honorable Semuju lastly.
All right, no, all right, thank you. There's a gentleman right here in a blue striped shirt. Remember, what are your expectations of Honorable Barry Omunsi and Honorable Ibrahim in this third session?
Okay, thank you. My name is Kamia Philim, ICT instructor. So what I expect from honorable
the representation of the Parliament as a whole. Remember that.
So I expect them from discussing about the security, such that it's active. Because in Uganda is where we find the Ministry of Security and the Ministry of Defense. Those two tend to be the same or similar. But now what's happening in the country? So there is kidnapping, murdering, killing people, dying, people cutting others. So I don't know, why don't you discuss about them, about those two?
All right. All right, thank you. There's a gentleman there in a blue shirt, long sleeve blue shirt.
Okay, I think in the third session, I expect the Parliament to be more consultative because power belongs to the people. And therefore, if you don't consult the people who give you the mandate to represent them, then I don't know whose mandate you're representing. Even those who are now fearing to go back to their villages because they touched, please, we have not sent you away. You come back, we shall forgive you, and we shall discuss.
All right, thank you very much. I know there are many contributions in the audience, but time does not allow us for your contributions. But remember, we can always continue this conversation, even on social media. But now I want to give the panelists a chance to give their closing remarks about the performance of Parliament. You've seen how the people are reacting to you. This is a sample space. They are not happy. That's the perception that we are getting from these people here. They are not pleased. So I'll start with you, Honorable Barry Omunsi. What is your closing remark about your performance as a Parliament?
Yes, you see, Parliament, I can describe it as a boiling pot where you measure the political temperature of the country. And we are running a multi-party dispensation. I am not very sure whether this audience has been carefully sampled to reflect what Uganda is.
The Ugandans.
We have the government side, the opposition, independent, and all these ideas are expected to really flourish. I think we should not do the condemn Parliament. I see our Parliament as a robust Parliament. We debate issues which affect Ugandans. when we are looking at the budget. There are petitions which have come. We address issues of security and all issues. And also to say, and I think it is unfair to judge the performance of members of parliament based only on plenary sessions. I think members of parliament do more than plenary. We have committees, we go to the constituencies, we do international travel to represent parliament and the country outside. So it is unfair to just look at a plenary session. When an MP is absent, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's at home sleeping. He could be in the constituency consulting, like you are saying. He could be in a district council. He could have been sent outside. So we must look at all this.
All right, Honorable Barrio. No, Honorable Barrio.
The assurance I want to give the audience.
All right, give them the last assurance.
Coming Parliament and the next years, we shall definitely address the concerns you are raising, so that we are a pro-people parliament that addresses the concerns of Ugandans.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Barrio Munsi. Now, Honorable Ibrahim, your closing remarks. You've seen what the perception is. Please,
first of
your
all,
closing remarks.
I think about 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting as whips in Parliament with the Speaker to audit our own performance in the last session. We are not satisfied. And I think the Speaker said we had spent 4 months quarreling over the changing of the Constitution. So in terms of the work, there is enthusiasm that we need to do much more than what we did in the last session. I hope the quality will also not be compromised. But my appeal is to the citizens. You see, this is your country. You have no reason to fill Parliament with tomato growers. I have visited several constituencies, asking people to vote right people, and sometimes they don't. They bring someone who doesn't even understand what Parliament is about. Said this is the one who attends funerals. This is the one who does this. I mean, I have said, and this is what I'll say last. In Uganda, maybe it is only football and maybe in medicine that you'll find competent people. In politics, anyone. If you went to school, if you didn't go, if you are the best dancer. So you present Parliament as if there is no work to do there, and then you complain that they have done nothing. Each one of you has a duty wherever you come from. Because this government is responsible to do civic education, it doesn't do it. So the civic levels of Ugandans' majority is very low. They don't understand, they don't even want to understand what an MP should do and what Parliament should do. So you have a duty, those of you who are enlightened, to go and help other citizens raise the civic competence of everybody, so we can choose a Parliament that will be beneficial not only to us, but also to the generations to come. If we don't do that, we are doomed as
All right, Honorable Ibrahim. Now, Mr. Werike from the African Leadership Institute, your closing remarks. You've had the citizens, you've had the contributions of these 2 members of Parliament. Your closing remarks on the performance of the 10th Parliament in its 2nd session.
Well, as Africa Leadership Institute, we realized that the channels of engagement between citizens and the MPs have been narrowing, especially after the amendment of 102B. Like people said, some of them are refugees in Kampala. So we want to try to see that first we generate information on what MPs are doing in the Parliament, on bills, which bills are being discussed, and then we get this information to the people and also create platforms for people to engage. Because if people only meet at burials, meet at weddings, and there's no information upon which to engage, eventually you see explosion, like we are seeing in Mukono Overland and things like that. But also as a person from the civil society, I expect to see a vibrant Parliament, and we are going to try to push for a vibrant Parliament, such that we don't have a Parliament which only does quick fixing.
All right.
You know, quick fixing is not good. Uganda is not ending tomorrow.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Werike. And I thank you very much to our vibrant audience. Please remember that you can continue this conversation on the social media sites, Facebook at Face the Citizens, that's our Facebook page, and using the Twitter handle at Face the Citizen 5, using the hashtag Face the Citizen, just to continue this discussion, because it seems it's not about to end. And remember, you back at home, it's your duty, it's your role to ask your member of Parliament if they are doing their job well. Until next time, have a good one. I'm Samuel Sebo Abunya, and this has been Face the Citizens.